Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a video that's very highly requested and not really what I would usually do, but I'm going to film a little sort of advice video, not in a condescending way and not in a way that I'm telling anybody what to do, but maybe a little bit of help if you're someone who's either a parent of a child with an eating disorder or a friend of a person with an eating disorder, or you're supporting a loved one with an eating disorder. This is coming from a place of somebody who's experienced one themselves and who has lived with one for many years and has been both struggling massively and in recovery. And so I just thought I'd do a video on things that are unhelpful and things that are helpful to be said and to be done when you're a person struggling or in recovery from specifically anorexia nervosa, which is what I've suffered with. There are so many eating disorders and all of them have somewhat different characteristics, so I can't obviously speak for all of them because I've only experienced anorexia, so that's what this is. I thought maybe this could be helpful for some of you if you want to send it to like family members or people that are supporting you or friends, just to help them understand, or if there's something in this that you think actually that would be really helpful for them to know, you can send them this. I do want to say, if you have been sent this, it is not an attack on you. It is not saying that you've done things wrong. It's not trying to call you out on stuff you've done. It is honestly just trying to help you understand how in the future you could help in a proactive way and give support in the way that the person you're supporting wants. Supporting a loved one with an eating disorder is difficult. It's really hard. I mean, they change so much throughout the duration of the illness as well, that you might say one thing one day and it's the right thing to say, and on another day it's the wrong thing to say. I know there's been times I've been praised and it's been what I needed to hear, and there's other times I've been praised for eating and it's sent me into a spiral and I felt guilty about it. So do not beat yourself up for saying the wrong thing, because if you are trying to help, then you are doing your best. Before I start, I do just want to say that this is from my perspective and from many people's perspective, but one of the best things you can do is ask how they want to be supported. Ask them what is helpful, because it's not going to be the same for everyone. So this won't apply to every single person with anorexia. It's just kind of a general thing that I've learned knowing many people with anorexia and having a following online of many people with anorexia. But please ask them what they find helpful. I want to say a few things that myself and other people online have sort of said and think it would be quite helpful to understand. The first thing I want to say is they are not doing this to hurt you. It's not a choice. Anorexia is an illness and the sufferer does not choose to develop it. Even if they chose to go on a diet to start with and that was how it spiraled, it's not a choice. It is hell, and it may feel like you're choosing it, but it's an illness controlling you. It is so personal, and it's honestly, whenever I've struggled, it's never been to get at anyone else. It's never been to kick back or to prove something. It's been me having low self-worth and feeling like I don't deserve things. It has never been about other people. Also, people that suffer with anorexia might not want to answer your questions. It's a very sensitive topic. It can be hard to talk about, so please understand if people don't want to talk about it. The third thing is most people that suffer with anorexia don't actually hate food. Surprise, surprise. Like, honestly, there are so many people that suffer with anorexia who are actually obsessed with food and used to love it. A lot of the time it's more about, like I said, a self-worth thing and feeling like you don't deserve it. So this whole misconception that anorexics hate food and don't want to be around food because they hate it, it's just not very accurate. And the fourth thing, which is something that was said a lot when I asked for like opinions online, is that weight gain does not show necessarily that the person is mentally better. Just because they've gained weight doesn't mean their anorexia is gone. It doesn't mean they don't struggle anymore. Of course, it is an achievement to have gained weight when that's the thing your brain's telling you not to do, but it doesn't actually prove that the person is mentally better, and often they will still need just as much support at a healthy weight as they did when they were underweight. Some sufferers with anorexia never even are underweight, so try and take weight out of the equation because it's a mental illness. Now moving on to things that are helpful, or that I found helpful, or that my followers online said they found helpful throughout recovery or struggling. The first helpful thing I'd say for me personally is other people holding hope for me. There's been so many times where I've really not been able to see that there was a way out, and my parents or my friends believing that I will find a way out has kept me going a lot of the time. So if your child or the person you love cannot hold the hope for themselves, please hold the hope for them and don't give up on them. Anorexia is very much something that you can recover from. The second thing is, when the person you're supporting is struggling, remind them that no matter how they feel, they cannot skip meals. Gently remind them that eating is not negotiable. It's something that everybody has to do. Every single human body needs fuel to survive and to run, and that means you have to eat no matter how you feel. I know sometimes it might feel like the right thing to do is to appease like the anorexia by sort of saying, oh, I can see you feel really bad, like, you know, you can eat a bit less, but that honestly just feeds the anorexia and ticks that box of like, okay, the way I can cope is by eating less. So the next thing I do want to say kind of leads on from that, and that is to try and be gentle and be patient. The person you are supporting is suffering with an illness. They are, like I said, not choosing to do this, and I do know that it is a lot easier said than done, just being calm and being gentle, but I know from the perspective of someone who suffered that the second people got angry at me, that just gave me yet another reason to deprive my body of fuel, yet another reason to starve myself, basically, because that feeling of self-worth lowered even more when someone was angry at me. Oh, I've made someone angry, I don't deserve to eat, that sort of mindset. So sort of being gentle and being kind and being compassionate, even when you might feel like screaming, that is really helpful. And just showing your child or the person you're supporting that you're by their side no matter what. Obviously this video, I'm assuming that you are a parent who loves their child and wants to help them, so please remind them that you don't love them because of the way they look. You love them because of who they are inside, and you want them to be well, and you will be here the entire time. Something that's really helped me is being reminded that I wouldn't tell somebody else that they don't deserve to eat. Like, if my mum sat there, there's no way I'd go to her, you don't deserve to eat your dinner because you haven't like exercised today. If they're saying those things to themselves, or they're trying to explain to you that they don't deserve to eat for any sort of reason, it's been very helpful for me to hear that, like, actually, would I say that to someone else? Because generally the answer is no, you wouldn't. Something that can be quite hard to navigate, but that I think is really important, is reminding the person that they are unwell and they do deserve help, because they need to feel validated and they need to be heard that they are struggling, and that they don't need to struggle to deserve the help. It's quite hard feeling like the only way you're going to deserve help is if you stay at your illest, because then how are you going to move on from being unwell? I think at every stage the person needs to be reminded, until they're not unwell, that they are unwell and they do deserve help. Another thing that's really helped me is people eating with me. So not just sitting there and staring at me while I eat, literally just sat there like, because it makes you so uncomfortable, to be honest. If you can, just to support them, especially in the early days, that's really helpful. Another thing is reminding them that they are doing nothing wrong by eating. It's a natural human thing. Everybody has to eat and they are not doing anything wrong. So the next thing is that sometimes taking the choice away can be helpful if you're in a position to do so. I mean, I know there are many times I would have fought back against that and I would have wanted to keep the control for myself, but sometimes it is too overwhelming and it's too much pressure on you to take all the responsibility for your recovery. So if there are times where they are really struggling with choosing what to eat or really struggling with preparing it, maybe ask them, is anorexia making you control what you're doing right now? Would it be easier if I stepped in and helped you out or watched you or took over for you? And the next thing I'd say is, if they do say they're okay to be praised with eating and that's not going to make them feel worse, try and acknowledge that every small victory they have is actually massive to them. I mean, there are times where I've challenged fear foods and to other people it's literally been like, I eat that every day, what's the big deal? But to you, when you fear a food or when you break a rule that your anorexia has put in place, being praised and having someone realise that actually it was difficult for you and you did a good job, that can be really helpful, because it is an achievement to fight against your brain when you've convinced yourself that what it's telling you is the truth. The final thing that's helped me is being reminded that no matter if I've gained weight and no matter what my body size or shape, I still deserve to eat. It does not matter what I look like, how I feel, I need to eat. So I'm going to move on to things that are quite unhelpful, I would say, to a person struggling with anorexia. The first thing is, please, 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 if you're with someone who's struggling with anorexia or in recovery from anorexia, do not focus on bodies, especially their body. Avoid comments on their body at all costs. I mean, you really cannot say the right thing when you're talking about someone's body. There are so many better ways to compliment an appearance, like your makeup looks nice, your eyes are pretty, your hair looks nice, I like your outfit. Please, if there's one thing you do, don't comment on their body. Whether they've gained weight, whether they've lost weight, it makes you feel like everyone's focusing on your body and it puts your focus back onto your body. Even though a person with anorexia may be thinking about their body a lot, knowing that other people are focusing on your body makes it even harder, because then you feel like you're going to be judged for your body changing, which obviously if you're recovering from anorexia or if you're struggling with anorexia, it's quite likely to. Obviously I said before about sort of like try not to snap and be angry, because it really feeds into the lack of self-worth and feeling like you've upset people and then feeling like you don't deserve food, but along those lines, like, really try not to guilt trip if you can, and try not to sort of say do it for me, or if you loved me you'd eat. I've heard people say that their parents have said that, because it's really not about other people. It is about your innate feeling of self-worth and your inner feeling of just not deserving nice things and not deserving food, and you can't recover for other people. Recovering for other people isn't really sustainable. You do have to recover because you want your own life. I mean, it might help some people to start with, sort of having their reason to recover being so that their family aren't struggling anymore, but not the kind of shaming them if they don't eat because it's upsetting you. The next thing, which probably sounds really obvious but apparently to a lot of people isn't obvious, is just eat. Honestly, anytime anyone said that to me, I would absolutely lose my nut. It's so much deeper than that. You cannot just eat and recover from anorexia. It's honestly, it's rooted in mental illness. It's rooted in trauma or low self-worth or anxiety. It's never about the food. And so telling someone to just eat, it just doesn't work. By all means encourage them to eat, but know that it is never going to be as simple as just sitting down and eating a meal. For me, when I was really struggling with anorexia, or when I am still struggling throughout my recovery, the kind of whole, oh, just do it, just get on with it, just eat, it might sound logical, but it's just not, because I'm sat there and I'm looking at my food and my brain is throwing me a million different reasons to not eat and a million different reasons that I don't deserve this food. So I can't just sit there and pick up my fork and just eat. I need gentle encouragement, like that I deserve to eat, that my body needs the fuel, that I am allowed to eat, that I've been given permission. Another thing that I think is quite unhelpful is when the person you're with compares what they're eating to you. I mean, I've heard other people say, and I have had people say this to me as well, as like, I couldn't eat as much as you're eating, or how do you eat that much? Because in recovery you need so much food, you need a lot of food, because if you think about it, your body's in a big deficit from being starved. So please just try not to bring comparison of what you're eating into it, because anorexia is competitive anyway and you will compare what you're eating. Often your actual perception of what you are eating is kind of warped and you will feel like you're eating more than everyone else anyway, so having someone else confirm that is so hard. The next thing, which is kind of specific to me, and I don't know, I mean, I think other people probably do experience this too, but this is kind of something that I felt a lot, is this kind of anorexic expectation when you're eating or after you've eaten. I've had comments before of like, oh, you ate that faster than I expected you to, or oh, you struggled less than I expected you to, because it will put in my head like, should I be struggling more? Like, am I not doing this right? Like, should I have eaten slower? Try not to hold an expectation of what an anorexic person looks like when they're eating, because every person that suffers with anorexia is different and they will eat differently. Some people find it easier to eat faster, some people find it easier to eat slower, some people will find some things safe and some people will find some things difficult. Everyone is different. It's an illness. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing. Another thing is, please avoid discussing your own weight, body and diet around them, especially if you're bringing diet culture kind of things in with the ideas of foods being good or bad, or too high in calories, or too high in fat, or too high in sugar, or unhealthy. If you're showing them that you feel bad about eating and that you feel bad about your body, it's very hard for them to learn that it's actually not normal to feel bad about yourself and that you shouldn't feel bad about yourself or what you eat. I guess it's kind of trying to set an example of what a healthy relationship with food looks like, which is obviously difficult if you don't have a healthy relationship with food, but just if you have somebody around you who suffers with anorexia, cut diet culture talk out, please. It is so difficult to hear. The final thing, which I've kind of touched on before, is please do not blame yourself for your child or loved one's illness. Please do not think, oh, there's more I could have done. I know when that's happened with me, I've really taken that onto myself. While other people were blaming themselves for my anorexia, I was blaming myself for my anorexia, and I was thinking, I am hurting my family, I'm upsetting my parents, I'm causing pain, and then that would just feed into my low self-worth and make me feel even worse. So I know you might be tempted to blame yourself, but it is an illness. So that kind of wraps that up. But I do just want to say that if you're suffering with an eating disorder, or you're recovering from an eating disorder, or both, you can get through this, and I really hope you have people around you that are supporting you. But please know there are places you can reach out. There are charities that support people with eating disorders. I know in the UK we have Beat, I will link them in the description, but please know you are strong and you are capable and you do deserve recovery. And to any parents or supporters of those with an eating disorder, thank you for listening to this, and thank you for trying to support. Thank you for trying your best. I'm so sorry that someone you love is going through it, because it is awful, it is so painful, it is so hard, but please know that there is hope. There are so many success stories. I do feel like eventually I'm going to be one of them, and things can get better. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this video helped in some way. I am going to be putting out more vloggy kind of ET videos from like next week, but this was a very requested video and I thought it might be helpful to film. So please like and subscribe if you found it helpful or if you want to follow my journey, and I will see you all soon.